Hi everyone, it's Caroline. Thanks for dropping in today. I really am so happy to see everyone. I am doing a flip through of my December journal that I finished. Well, I finished it just after New Year's, and I had still to see if I liked the binding that I used, which is just a few strips of leather that I harvested from an old sofa that we had. And I am happy with it. I'm not going to be flipping through it too much anyway, and I'd have to rethink it for the next time, but it worked fine for what I wanted to do, and I wanted to use things that I had. So that's about the binding. I did shorten the length here. I kept it long to work in it, but this is how thick she is. And I didn't do anything to the back cover. This was old packaging that I had stained, blueberry stained and coffee stained. The front cover, well, this was a very serendipitous thing that happened. I had made this during a winter, this was called the Winter Journal of Stitchery, that I joined in July of 2022. So this was before I started my channel, and I was doing some slow stitching with Rachel from Roxy Creations, and I had forgotten that I had it. I was looking through some of my fabrics. So what I did here is I attached the lace part to the opening, to the little slot that was in the packaging, and I made a hinge. I hinged it. So this was a slow stitched piece, and it was supposed to be a page for a journal. I never finished the journal. I just made a couple of things, and I did some embroidery. I had traced a deer, and I did some embroidery on here. This is just all slow stitching with scraps. Made some yo-yos, and then it just shows the blueberry on the packaging that I wanted to keep. And I used some scraps to make a little frame around. December 2024, so that's my journal for December 2024. And I just used a bulb pin to keep it from flipping back and forth. Some of the pages that I did, I shared in videos, and I'll link my playlist below. I did not do the whole journal. Share what I did here. I had made a pocket when I made the cover, and I just put a couple of things that I didn't use in the journal. This was a bag left over from Christmas that had some goodies in it, so I put it in here, and I did use one of these bags in the journal. Very first page that I made, and I used my handmade paper, reinforcements on the holes. And this page was a whole bunch of collage pieces. I had used some very old envelopes, I made a tag, I did my journaling. So there's a lot of journaling. Every page I think has journaling, gratitude and or memory keeping. And I made a pocket out of this paper. Did some slow stitching. We also have, I introduced, this is PB, the elf on the shelf that visits our daughter's house, their kids. So I put him in some of these that I remembered. This one I did a video on. There's my journaling spot here. There's PB. Oh, it's hard to tell here, but he's sitting on a ledge going downstairs. So I kept that as a fun little memory. Tucked in the buttons. This was a really fun one I did, and they're all in sequence, so it's all of December. I had embossed some paper. I made a snowman. I used some thread, a toque from a magazine, more scraps of thread. So I made a flip, just a piece of a hinge here, or a fabric. I made a hinged. I attached, and there's some journaling there. And in here, it's hard to see it, but there's lots of sequins in this one. So this was made into a snow globe. I added a photo of our hillside after a snowfall and put some of the sequins in here. So I can make them move around. And I did put the hillside. This was on December the 4th. And did some collaging. I titled this, Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Such a great movie to watch with the kids. Fun through the years in winter in the snow. Building snowmen, having fun in the snow. And then I added some photos of this is Tara and Brett, our children at Christmas with their Christmas PJs. I just added some personal photos of our grandchildren, our kids, and I just attached it with a paper clip. And I cut some cards up, reattach them with some staples. This is the other part of our snow of the same photo, or I think I enlarged it. I used it several times, and I added some little round dots. There's PB. And this was the card here from a friend of ours, and I wrote on there, and I just made it into a tuck spot. There's PB. So that's fun. I do have a video for this one, December the 6th. This is, oh yeah, that gets attached that way. And I have a lot of fun ephemera from when I was a baby. And then I did some layering, some journaling in there. And I love sharing this because sometimes you might think, well, what do you do with your own personal ephemera? How do you do a journal like my True Trash Transformation Journal, where it's fun to see how other different approaches to sharing your photos and your keepsakes. This was December 7th, and I just added, our snow-covered hillside is glistening in the sun and moonlight. So beautiful. And I put, God has a purpose for all. And I had this magazine photo, and I just did some slow stitching, added some threads. I had made this hidden paper clip with some scraps. Made my own snowflakes. So very simple. And the journaling, you know, sometimes journaling could be a note, it could be a quote, it could be a dash, ... It could be just something, anything in your mind. It could be a saying that you have. It could be a saved song lyric, anything. It's gratitude. It's whatever you want. There are no rules. It doesn't have to be done every day either. I wanted to use the pages that I had made, create a journal, and I love keeping the memories. This side, that's what I made the paper clip for, because I had made this Scrappy one-page multi-pocket. There's some journaling there. There's one that I made with scraps. I had this, this was a piece of a doily. I added a tab here, some journaling. There's PB on the light in the kitchen. This is when he first arrived. And then I added another one from another day where he's on the corner of the TV. And so I put that in here as a memory. I do believe I have a video for this one. And then the back has, this was just a note, a personal note that I folded into itself so that I could keep it like this, and it just goes in this pocket. This here is a lot of different scraps that I had. I had made some tabs with some of my own art, did some stamping. This was Christmas magazine advertisement. I cut out the tag, that's what it was. There's PB in the cupboard, so I put him in there. I made a pocket out of an antique piece of ephemera. Just added some scraps from a while ago, and then I did some journaling underneath, and I added some photos. And this is just a collage of lots of different. These were leftover, most of these were leftover from last year, and I have photos in here from years gone by and from this year. There's PB sitting reading. He's got his reading glasses on. Our daughter had just as much fun with this. Added buttons and sewing and scraps of fabric. So fun to do. This was also from a printable that I had from last year, and I made some from my scraps of different papers. I did some ruffles and sewed them on. I glued everything on here. And this is December the 11th. And I wrote some thoughts. This is a photo from my gardening book. I just made a quick little band here, a little holder to put my journaling in. Just on a scrap. I could go this way. There we go. December the 12th. I sewed these two together and did some journaling on here. Made a quick tag. Just did a cluster. I had made some clusters, so I put that on. I had made and sewed around a quick little envelope. And it was this envelope sample that prompted me to make this fun envelope edger. You just never know what's going to spark something for you to create. I did make a video for this one. This was December the 14th, and I made my Scrappy strip. I called it my Whoville-esque tree because I thought it was kind of wonky. And that was fun to do. Lots of scraps, different things on there. This was a fun use of some other scraps. These were from last year. Jill at Jilly Bean Studio has monthly Ko-fi printables, so you can go there to find different ones. And I still had some left in my Christmas pack, my little zip pack, so I used those. Did some journaling, used my music paper. This is a magazine scene that I actually altered. These girls were somewhere else, and I put them on the bench here in the winter scene. And this was from The Sound of Music, Edelweiss, so I just thought that kind of went well together. All fun prompts that I just get these ideas in my head. More magazine and scraps. Thoughts that it gives me that I can write down. This was a really fun one too, and it's a pocket that I made with PB in the fridge having some milk, and then the other side there's a close-up, and he's got a little bit of milk mustache. And then I made my tag and some gratitude journaling. And that sits here in this fun, lacy tuck spot. And then little tiny hearts that I made into a tuck spot. This was I took a photocopy of another antique postcard that I had, and then I had a piece of scrap here, made a bow out of it. This is photos. This is PB up here on the light, and there's our grandchildren coloring with PB. That was just tucked in there, really. It's just a light card. This was at night. I did this before I went to bed. And I took some of my fun fashion spray and I just did some stamping on a piece of paper, put some of the dots of the silver dots, added some scraps. This was from a magazine. It's prompted me, the magazine photo. I wanted to keep it light, beyond fresh, and I made this from some little cluster dangle with some scraps, and I did some journaling under there, so it's kind of hidden. Now I'm going to have to switch my book onto the other side. Using Christmas cards that we had a few Christmas cards in the mail. I was able to use some of the cards that came, and I had some cards from last year still, and then I had a doily made. I used that as a journaling spot, and I topped it with some fabric. December 21st, more collage with some magazine images, some napkin that I had received in Happy Mail, and then I just put "The Stars Are Always Shining," made my own little tune with the background of the music paper. I do reference my journals. There's some pages in here that I want to recreate, and you don't have to make it for winter. You can make the same idea, but for summer or a different occasion. And that's the other thing. This is a December journal flip through, but you can definitely use any of these ideas in the season that you're in now. And so this was more scraps of printables, and then I just did some fun collaging. I put these two girls from separate magazines, altered them a bit with their hair and their eyes, added a tie here, and they're sitting on the bell, the Christmas bell. And then I just put "You Can Ring My Bell." Made a tab. This was a tab. I shrunk down a postcard that I had made and sent to some friends, printed it off and sewed around it, and I used that as my tab. There's another photocopy of an old postcard that I have. And then I just made a tag here to journal on. And I had made some hearts and did some little bit of edging. Fun to add all kinds of different things together. Not my favorite, but I'm glad that I could get something on the page, and it's to write about how I'm feeling, journaling. This page was December the 24th, and I added some lace, and I just layered some of my leftover photos. This was some traditional European, German marzipan candies. So I took part of the label, so this is trash, and then I just stuck it on here. This is part of a Christmas card, and it is, oh, I thought I was going to make a pocket out of it, but I did my journaling on here. And this side of it is a photo of me and my mom and dad when I was a baby. And I think I have this in last year's, but I love it. And it's just so nostalgic. So I put that in here because that's when we celebrated our Christmas growing up, even with our kids, on the 24th. So I put that in here. This is the 25th, Christmas Day. All about joy, joy to the world. And that's all I did. I kept it very simple. And this was this is just a Christmas ball that I made using I don't know what this is. It's felt. Adorned it with some magazine images. Made a little cluster with some fabric. edged it with some gold or copper paint. Boxing Day, December the 26th. And this was a Christmas card that Mom's husband gave us. And he gave us all a little chance to win something, but we didn't win, but it was still fun. And I did some journaling in that card. So that was Christmas, Boxing Day. Still using some of my scraps. I had made some fun labels with some return stickers. I just made a cluster with that. This was from a magazine, so I put it on top of my a little bag, and then I did some journaling on there. And then I just have these two little scrap pieces of paper that I put in there. Very simple. Winding down the month. Well, this was a fun one to do too. Before bedtime, a lot of my adventures are before bed. A cutout from a magazine, a sofa from a magazine, scraps that I had stamped on. This was my journaling card. I made a tuck spot here with some leftover scraps. I had these little fabric snowflakes that I completely forgot about. I found them when I was reorganizing, put them on here, and I added some stamped butterflies, and I put the evergreens are excited for wonderful adventures, whatever. I mean, I didn't, just how I felt in the middle, not the middle of the night, but before I went to bed. This page, this was really fun to do too, because this is the other part of my winter slow stitching with it. I made a tag. So I added it in here on this page. I continued the snowflakes, took some scrap lace and satin ribbon so that I could attach my tag. This is the 29th, and I attached it with a bulb pin to the lace. Used an antique real vintage photo, and I just trimmed it to fit on the tag. Added some snowflakes on it. I added a cluster here and made it into a tuck spot so that I could do my journaling. So I did have lots to say on that one. And that's a fun way to do that. You can make fun fabric slow stitch tags. Add them into your journal. This is my, it's a little bit smaller to fit on the page, but I did use my hand and I just traced out some mittens. Added some, I did the cuffs with some doily. Had this floating around, and it's, for me, even now and as a kid, something indispensable was mittens. I had to have mittens. I still do. So I thought that was really fun. And then I did some journaling here. Kept that pretty flat. We are on the 31st of December. Paper ribbon ruffle, I mean. I have my own labels that I put on here. Had some scraps and I added some photos. This was my daughter's unicorn that she made on some packaging. She was doing some drawing with the kids and I wrote about that. This was a cluster of leaves that was on our porch, and I took a picture of it, and I thought those things went really well together, so I made a little collage there and did some journaling. And I continued on because I had the space. I did January the 1st. I had this cluster left over from when I made my Hillside Heart Prompts cover. So I thought I'd put it in here, and I added some snowflakes. All is quiet on New Year's Day. I just wanted to do something like that. It was quiet, and it was really perfect for that. And then I had this star from something that came in the mail. So I cut it out and I just put it there. And I did nothing on the back. I wanted to keep the back the way it is. Very fluffy, full of threads and all kinds of fun edging. At one point I was thinking I would change it to some metal rings, binder rings, but I'm going to keep it this way because it's something that I tried and documented, and I do like it. I think my book is just really thick. I love the way these papers all turned out. I hope that you have some inspiration from this. I hope you remember that you can use any of these ideas, not just for December, Christmas, winter. It can be for any time of the year. Thanks for being here today. I really enjoy spending time with you. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I really appreciate it. As always, stay adventurous and be cozy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.